Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Civic Committee meeting being held on Thursday, the 8th of October. Welcome to those members of the public that are either watching it live or tuning in later on today. If we kick off with proceedings, we'll go straight on to, sorry, put the glasses on, it's one of those days today. Agenda item 36020, which is declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interest to receive any additional interest not already registered. Are there any, please?
No, thank you.
None.
No, thank you.
Super, thank you. And then if we can go to 36120, which is apologies for absence to receive.
Councillor Crawford.
We haven't had any others.
No.
Okay, thank you very much, David. In that case, we'll move swiftly on to 36220, which is the minutes, to confirm the minutes of the committee held on the 6th of August, which seems like a lifetime ago, received by full council on the 25th of August as a true record and to be signed and initialled by the committee chairperson. I'll give you a moment to find those because I'm frantically looking at the bottom of my screen as well. So this is just for accuracy. We'll take page 1, page 2, and that's it. We all agreed that those are a true and fair reflection.
Agreed.
Agreed the minutes.
Super. Thank you very much. Oh dear. We move on to 36320, the Honoured Citizens Award, to receive an update on the Honoured Citizens Award and to discuss and agree the way forward for next year. You would have had a paper circulated, and I apologise to the members of the public who are eating their breakfast at this time in the morning, having to see my good self on the screen there twice. David, would you like to continue with this item at all, please?
Yes, okay, we'll do, Chair. So it seems a lifetime ago when we first made that decision in our Civic Committee as to who were the inaugural recipients of the Honoured Citizens Awards. And as you can see on the slide, to the left is Neville Hodson, who was awarded with our Honoured Citizen Award. And on the right, Travis Sturman, who is our Junior Honoured Citizen of 2020. We planned at the time to give them their awards at the annual town meeting in April of this year, but obviously, as we all know, things took a different direction, and we have sort of struggled to find the right context to do that. Friday night, 2nd of October, last Friday, we managed to get them both in, and as you can see from the slide, the Mayor and yourself, Chair, made those awards. And we did promise them that this is what we really perceived as our way of doing it. And I think at the time the Mayor has given an invitation to both of them and their guests to attend the Mayor's Civic Ball. That's if that goes ahead. If not, then we will bring them back at some appropriate time in the future, whether it's the next annual town meeting or Mayor making or such, that we can give them a better reception of to honour their awards, because they are the very first of our Honoured Citizens Awards, and we need to make a bit more of a fuss than bringing them in. We have taken a video. Joe was with us on Friday night. He recorded everything live. We've now edited down those videos, and I think Joe's on the line, whether we've uploaded them at the moment, but we'll certainly do that by the end of the week, so people will be able to view what actually happened. But yeah, in the end, we've done what we set out to do, albeit not in the way that we wished.
May I just ask a question, please? Jane?
Yes, Councillor Cannon. Yep.
Jane, have you done a press release, Very Free Press?
There will be one. Obviously, we always have the community engagement media release is a standing agenda item at the bottom. We will be we didn't want to put anything out until we'd actually presented these to our winners, because it's sort of a bit naff putting a load of words out. A picture tells 1,000 words, and it'd be nice to celebrate these people. So what we're going to do is, now that we have all the pictures, we will get a media release put out, if that is this committee's desire.
Yeah, as long as the winners don't mind.
I think they were quite happy. Any other questions for David on this aspect? Or even myself?
No, I suppose we've got to start getting ready for next year's.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Councillor Canham. So on your document dated 8th of October report, there is the second aspect to this agenda item, which is to discuss and agree the Honoured Citizens Awards 2021. As with anything, first contact, it survived, but there are lots of would be better ifs. So David and myself have sort of had a few conversations and chatted through, what could be better, how could we do it better, what would be easier, what could potentially promote more engagement from our residents, and you would have all had that paperwork there, and we do have a recommendation to full council to amend the process. David, is there anything you'd like to say to that before we move to that recommendation?
Yeah, simply that I have tweaked the nomination form. I think we should probably just go with one proposer. We don't really need two proposers. And I've actually, when we had the last nominations, we did have a good selection of them, but I remember one of them was nominated, and the comments by the proposer was they do a lot of good work for the charity, which is probably not the best way to absolutely sell these unsung heroes to as the nomination. So I've actually included a little bit more information as to try and really give a call to action to showcase what they've done. And I've sort of put in there, don't hold back. We want to know who and why these unsung heroes should be recognised for their amazing contribution to Thetford. So we really want them to sell the nomination to us next year, so we have a even harder job to select the two recipients. Apart from that, I've just created the form which is just a little bit clearer and easier to understand, and the timeline that we're proposing is that these nominations, or the launch of 2021, will be launched on January the 4th, and the deadline will be quite a tight deadline, so it will be the 29th of January, which gives us an opportunity to assess those nominations and make a decision on February the 4th, which is our first civic meeting of the new year. And then hopefully one of the proposals is that we're going to recommend to Town Council to try and quicken the process where we can make a decision and inform those recipients that we actually have it as a delegated, resolved decision to the civic committee rather than a recommendation to full council. The issue with that is, as you can remember, there was this period in the middle of a civic meeting at the beginning of the month and full council at the end where we had to be quite secretive about who received it, etc. And I think it would just be a cleaner and more accurate process if we can make that decision in civic, and we can get the message out there quite quickly, and then invite them to come to the annual town meeting in May the 4th of 2021 to receive their honours, which was always the proposed format. And that's pretty much it, really.
Thank you, David. Any questions or queries, please, committee?
No, I just think it's a good idea that when people do write, they really go into it. It's like when you apply for somebody to have an OBE or something, you get lots of detail, because that is what the government department asks for. They don't care what it is, from the smallest to the largest. They do like a lot of detail, and that way it does make it harder to. I mean, for instance, the one that we've done recently, there was videos of everything that went in, but that's what they like, and it does make it easier to make that judgment. And I also think that, yes, Civic should make that decision. So if council would allow that, that'd be an easier process for us.
Jenny, is there anything you'd like to add on that?
I was just going to say congratulations to both gentlemen, well deserved.
Stuart?
Just, I think having Civic make that decision would streamline the process, so I think that would probably be worthwhile. Obviously, we are very few in number, in terms of that, so we might end up in a stalemate, but I'm sure we can make a decision between us.
I mean, I think from my personal point of view, I think the way that we did it last time round, where it was anonymously done, so we didn't know who they were. I mean, some people you could recognise who they were from what they're involved with, but it's that opportunity to, for want of a better phrase, sell them. And I think it's really important that, as David has highlighted, that those achievements and commitments and the work that they do is expanded upon, so that I want it to be a really, really hard decision personally, because I know there's some fantastic people out there in Thetford, some of whom we know, some of whom we don't know. And it's such an amazing opportunity to be able to celebrate them and say, yeah, look what they're doing. So yeah, hopefully that will inspire. So I seem to have a consensus there, but obviously if we're making a recommendation, that does need to be formalised. So recommendation that the Civic Committee requests that the process be changed so that the power of a resolved decision is delegated to the Civic Committee in terms of the awarding of the Honoured Citizen and Honoured Junior Citizen Award. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can I, if I'm making that proposal, can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jenny. And all those in favour?
Agreed.
Agree.
Agree.
Agreed. So that's all four of us. Awesome. Well done. And obviously, if that's agreed to, I mean, the timeline is the timeline, isn't it? So that's that. Thank you very much for your help and work on that, David. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
So if we move on to 36420 as per the screen, which is the task and finish group. Oh, that's me to receive an update from the chair. So it's town events for 2021 come 22, civic budgets and the budgets. So if we start with the task and finish group document that was circulated previously, on the 13th of August, myself, Councillor Wright and Councillor Callum met with David, and he's produced a lovely note. Thank you so much for that, David. And it is a good, fair reflection of the discussions that went on. Specifically in terms of town events, this is pending full council ratification of the suggestion that we become a heritage and events, although I'd rather have that termed civic events, as opposed to the commercial events that will stay within venues and marketing. We regurgitated, for want of a better phrase, the flagging Up Thetford idea, and that seemed to be quite positive, and it will be an opportunity, hopefully, bearing in mind the world that we're in at the moment, to say, Thetford's back open for business, highlight the start of the tourism season. And we were very mindful that we didn't want to clash with things like the Steam Up and the Dad's Army opening, and detract from that interest that is very specifically there, but is an opportunity to celebrate. So we were looking at what could be effectively on the May Day bank holiday at the start of May, which after Easter is that first good push, and hopefully is nice weather as well. We had a number of actions there on the second page of the report that hopefully you've seen. I'm delighted to advise that I've inquired with the Riverside Walk land agent regarding the possible use of some of the vacant premises for event use. Obviously, that is pending them being available and not being in shop use. But they were really positive about the opportunity to engage with us. It also highlights them and hopefully would drive footfall for them, and highlight that the units are available, because there's been quite an amount of investment on that. I will pause at town events. Additionally to the flagging Up Thetford, there's the River Day, the Heritage Festival in terms of the HODS offerings, because that works well to coincide with that, and then obviously the Christmas lights switch on. Are there any questions from the committee on where we are there, please?
No, thank you.
No, I was in the meeting, so I know where we're going. Thank you.
I think it's a good starter for 10. David, is there anything you'd like to add on that specific part?
Only in so much as I know flagging Up Thetford is listed for the 2nd of May, which seemed an age away, but it's not. And one of those actions was to draft an event participation invitation letter and also send information to business and community groups to try and engage. So we really do need to sort of have an approval, at least of those. 2, 3 and 4 are pretty much, same again, thank you for next year. But flagging Up as a new one, we just need approval that that's the way we want to go. I think at this moment in time, I think is a brilliant event in terms of trying to enable all our local businesses to sort of, get the open signs back out. And, May could be the time where we actually, hopefully, please, come out of lockdown restrictions totally, and we can get back to some normality. And so this is a really pertinent event, but we need to actually flag that up, sorry the pun, to local businesses so they can get ready as well. So I just need an approval steer, if nothing else, from the committee.
Jenny, I've got your hand up, please.
Yeah, I managed to get back in. Flagging Up. Will we be asking like scout groups, brownies, rainbows, whatever, and others for their own flags to put up? Or have we got a specific theme? Or is it basically, if you've got a company that's, I'm going to say it, got a fox, it's its logo.
I need to declare that interest.
Would there be an invitation for that logo flag to go up somewhere in the town? Because I think that'd be really interesting. Yeah.
So it's ultimately a two-prong approach. So depending on where we are come May, we are thinking of flags along the high street, utilising the Christmas tree brackets. And David was working with the team to undertake an audit for those to make sure that we had enough and potentially could do it from there. They would be secured in the metal. The flags would be secured in the brackets, and we're exploring the costings on that. So to expand the event, we would have those going along the high street, and hopefully they would stay for the summer. So a real celebration of the vibrancy that is available in town. And then to expand the event, we discussed the opportunity to have effectively a pitch space within the town to showcase what they do, deliver fun activities from their site, or be part of a flag parade. And that's potentially something where you've rightly highlighted our young people and our wonderful youth movements that are out there and our volunteer groups, that they might want to actually make their own flag rather than pay for one of the more robust ones. And I'm mindful that there's a lot of crafters out there that those flags wouldn't be robust enough to stay up over the summer, but there'll be a wonderful celebration of what these groups do. And that was the reason for engaging with the Riverside Walk land agent to see if we could use the empty shop window spaces, because then that brings a level of vibrancy again to the high street, and that area, it literally flags it up that it's open for business, and we can have them on display there, hopefully, all things being, if they're still available, to have them up there for a couple of weeks, so families can come into the town and go, young Johnny or Jenny helped make that flag, and celebrate those achievements as well. So yes, the aim is to also have a parade. Obviously, we're mindful that we could be still in a very strange world. Does that help?
Yeah, that's quite true. I think we're just taking it bit by bit at the moment, aren't we, for our things? No, that sounds a brilliant idea. Yeah, lovely.
Could I come in there? Is there any way that town council can signpost people if they wanted a flag made, because the sort of flag that they'd make wouldn't fly? I don't want to name this group because it's up to them whether they want to do it, but there is a group in Thetford. okay, everybody does everything in their own homes, but all the stuff that they make go off to different charities and hospitals. And by the way I'm talking, you probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and they helped us on an event for BE Day.
Yeah. So ultimately, there's two prongs to it. So there's effectively the homemade flag and parade, and for want of a better phrase, the self-made flags would be the ones that we'd be looking at displaying in any of the empty retail properties. The other ones would be the community group. There is the section there that says flagging up Thetford would deliver in a literal sense the opportunity for businesses and communities to design their flag that would be produced to a uniform specification and displayed from the event date throughout the season until late September. And those are the flags that we'd be looking at securing into the metal wall brackets that are used to display the Christmas trees during the Christmas period. So we will have a uniform process, and we'll need to, obviously, the committee needs to agree to the idea of it first before we can actually start talking about the degree of detail that we're looking at there. But we have got providers, haven't we, David, of people who are able to produce a robust, resilient flag that will last the summer season.
Yes, we have. I mean, you've taken most of what I was going to say already. So we would have a template, Brenda. I mean, we need a template because we've done an initial audit of the brackets, and as Stuart knows, because he was with me on a particular day, the brackets that line Well Street, they are also very close to sort of satellite dishes as well. So we might have to consider how big that flag is. Obviously, there's weight issues, etc. So we will have a template. These are the kind of things that we need to sort of know, because it's stuff that we'll work on. And at our December meeting, all of these things can be rubber stamped, and then we can launch, which gives people at least 2 or 3 months to get their groups together to try and engage. Now, if they want to come up with a homemade flag, then obviously they can parade that, because there's not so much significance about weight and size and things like that. So there are other options, Brenda, but obviously the ones that go into the brackets need to be controlled, and they will be templated.
Yeah, I wasn't concerned with that. I'd just like to see this person's flag. That I mean, the group might not want to, but if they did, then that's there, so people know that does go on in and around Thetford. I don't think they'd go into a parade or anything, but if it can be put somewhere, I'll have to check with the manager.
Well, I mean, obviously, should the committee decide to go down this route for flagging up Thetford, my next job is to get that invitation letter sorted out, and then we can start working from there. And as David said, we can then get it sent out and rubber stamped and approved at the December meeting. David, you were specifically asking for a decision from this committee. So do I have a proposer for adopting the Flagging Up Thetford civic event?
I will propose that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Canham. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Madam Chairman. Oh, let Stuart and Councillor Rye.
We'll get all your names onto the agenda, not a problem, team.
No, I'm not worried about that.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. And all those in favour?
Agree.
Super, full house on that one. Is that adequate for you, David?
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Super.
Can I just say,
just to say, if you need any help, David, with getting these out and chatting up the shops, me and Jenny's pretty good at chatting up some of the shops.
Brilliant. All help welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. Councillor Wright.
yeah, David, I think what we probably need to do just in the meantime is mock up the size of a flag that we would want to use, so we can just test that out in Wells Street where there's the potential of touching those tactile issues. Because I think with the pole that's long enough and the flag not being too big, I think we should get away with it down there. But it might be worth just having a little trial run with a mock-up one.
Yeah, absolutely, good idea.
Fantastic, thank you all. So we'll move on from the events programme proposed for 2021-22 on to, there we go. That's kind of the summary of what we were talking about. So that's further updates from that task and finish group. They're on the screen in front of you. Actually, whilst we're here, is there an update, Stuart, on the Thetford Tourism and Heritage Partnership at all, please?
I had hoped there would be, but we had a mess up in terms of dates. The meeting was scheduled for, I don't think what it was. I thought it was the Wednesday, so I sent out the Zoom calls on Wednesday. When I looked at my thing, it was happened to be the Tuesday, so we'd missed the thing. But we were on standby to have another meeting. But we did mention about having town council officer representation. So, David, I think if we can look at your availability so that we can make sure that we've got you in the loop for that. And then obviously we can impart all the good stuff we're discussing today and look to carry on some of those other things, such as the town ambassadors and how we can deliver those. Obviously, the ancient house is still shut and will probably be so for the foreseeable future because of the size of the museum. Charles Burrell Museum is closed, as we all know, and won't be opening until next year. But we're all hopeful for a good 2021. The Dad's Army Museum is open on the first Saturday a month. We are potentially looking possibly one of the half-term weekends as well. But we're still getting over 100 people every time we open. So the demand is there. And we're trying to cater for it. But we're not quite open for business as a town yet, are we? But if David can join us on the next meeting, if we can set it around his availability, then hopefully we can take this forward and try and get things planned. The Thetford Priory, I'm trying to get the app reinstated. I know Councillor James is very keen on that. I've been talking to the people who designed the app and also Professor Lindley, who was involved with the Priory Tombs project, with finding that it's not just a question of hosting the app. There may be some extra work to bring the apps up to the iOS standards that are needed now. So I'm still awaiting a costing on that, but obviously we as town council don't have money to put towards that as such, but hopefully if we do get a price, we can then tout it to the likes of Breckland, English Heritage and ourselves to see if it's worthwhile doing. But it is such a fantastic tool that it's disappointing that we're not going to available.
Lovely, thank you very much, Stuart. So yes, we're on the Civic project, so I think we've covered most of what was coming out of that. Are there any questions from Councillor Canham or Councillor Hollis, please?
Just one. The town ambassador scheme. Obviously, I'm not in the task and finish group, but town ambassador scheme. What will that involve?
Do you want me to take that?
That'd be lovely, thank you, Stuart.
Yeah, this is just an embryonic stage at the moment, but obviously it was something that we're all conscious of a little bit of the town's history, and when we get visitors, we always sometimes stumble or we're not quite aware. And it was trying to bring those public-facing people, such as taxi drivers or those that work in hotels, or other general members of the public who engage with our visitors, to learn a little bit more about the town's heritage, so that they can impart that, and also point people in the right direction to things such as the Priory, Castle Hill, the Guildhall Heritage Hub, the museums and such. And also, the statues. So we've got a little bit more knowledge there for the general public and visitors coming to the town. What we envisaged there was to try and get all the various parties involved, so that we get a quite a sharp synopsis that, not everybody's going to remember dates and that, but at the same time, if you know one fact about one thing, then it does come across as really powerful. So if you get your taxi driver, pick you up from the station, a visitor, he starts talking to you about, oh, did you realise about Julep Singh or Thomas Paine or Minns or whatever. So we look as though we're a bit more promoting the town And what we would do is probably have a little round table session with the various heritage providers and tourism people to get their take on it, then coming forward to provide a piece of training and documentation that people can take away. Probably a little session in the Carnegie as a presentation and teaching people these are the main facts. Anything else you want to bring to the party type thing, and then possibly do it. I would think probably once a year, because people do move on from their jobs. If they're working the bell, they may not be working the bell in the next year. But let's get it up and running. But I think it's quite a cost-effective way of promoting the town to visitors. And I think it's quite a nice learning process for the locals as well.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, that's there. That sounds really good. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that idea.
Is there anything you'd like to add, David?
Only the fact that this was just an extension of our call to action from Councillor Taylor with trying to work more closely with local businesses and maybe more specifically with heritage businesses, and coupled with the fact that next year, albeit it's still got to be approved by full council, but most of the committees have approved it internally. The Civic Committee will have a wider heritage brief, and part of that is to promote the heritage offer that we have in the town that we've always talked about. We always espouse that it's a rich, diverse heritage, so we need to play our part in that and try and bring together all the deliverers as well as ourselves. I mean, we've got an exciting future ahead in the Guildhall, and we need to explain what that offer is that we're going to provide in the future to our heritage partners in the town and further afield. So there's a lot of work to do. So basically, this is more about us playing our part in that communication process. But I think, we're on the right lines. And yes, I'm happy to attend the TTHP to try and bring that perspective from the council. So yeah, all good stuff.
Super. Are we happy with that aspect of that agenda item, team?
Yes, very.
Excellent. Right. In that case, we will move on to the budget element of that one. Oh, okay.
So sorry, Chair. There were three prongs, and the final prong was to talk about budget. But as we've got budget as an agenda item, can we pick it up within this agenda, please?
Absolutely. So we'll move on to agenda item 36520 as highlighted on your screen. So the first aspect of the Civic budget is to receive an update and review where we're currently at in the current financial year. This was circulated previous to the meeting. I'll open the floor and say any questions or queries, please.
Can I ask what the mayoral expenditure is, the refund to the mayoral event paid in the previous financial year? Please.
So my understanding is that there was a refund of a mayoral event that was paid for in the previous year, but actually didn't get refunded until this financial year. So see, that is duly shown. Is that correct, David?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Lovely.
And obviously, as we've found the world that we're currently in at the moment, obviously our civic events, things like Battle of Britain service, and our plans for VE, had to be changed significantly. So obviously, in one respect, that's really good because we haven't spent any money. But it's really sad that we haven't been able to deliver those events in the way that we had hoped and planned for our residents. Any other observations or just duly noted?
I think it should be noted.
It's noted, thank you.
Super, thank you all very much. And then if we move on to the second element of this, which is to receive and approve the draft forecast heritage and events budget for the forthcoming year. So again, this has been circulated previously. It kind of does what it says in the can. The key aspect of it compared to this year is the town events element, and it's waiting to be formally approved by the full council, as David highlighted earlier, to move the town events from the venue events and marketing committee into ours. Both sides seem to be happy with that. And we've suggested from the task and finish papers that you've also had to supplement the budget that was already within that with an additional £1,000, just really to cover any additional costs that we might have in terms of the brackets, because we were a little bit concerned on that side of things, and getting that particular project underway. Any questions or queries, please, committee?
Could I just query something? You know the Christmas lights switch on?
Yes.
Who paid for that? Was that them or Al? Because it seemed like both committees worked on it.
Can I just answer that? So the actual payment for the Christmas lights that we see strung along the high street, etc., that comes out of ALP, and that, to my knowledge, will still sit within that committee. This is purely about the event. So if we do things like in the past, we've done Winter Wonderland, Santa's Grotto and things like that, that would come out of an element of this town event budget.
That comes from Civic from now on. Yeah, that's okay.
And that would be Civic. Yes, you're right.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Agreed.
Super. So can I have a proposer and a seconder to do we need to do that formally, David?
I think because this is our proposed budget for 2021-22, I think we just need to formally propose our approval that will go as a recommendation to go before full council for the final overall approval of all the elements of the town council budget. But this is our section of that, so we need to be happy with what we're going to put forward.
So are you happy, committee?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
We're setting the budget now, not in November.
Well,
No,
this is
not set the budget here. We can put forward our suggestions for inclusion into the full budget at this point.
Absolutely.
And obviously, the finance committee will then pull everything together from all of the committees, review it and say the impact of what you're looking to do is this. It will then be proposed to full council, but this is the start of the budget setting process that we need to do before we get to that point, as per the timelines that were proposed and adopted from the finance committee by full council a couple of months ago.
That's fine. I just wanted to I just wanted you to say all that.
No, that's not a problem at all. I know it's a bit of a convoluted process, but you know, each committee is responsible for their budget. And with my other hat on as chair of finance, I'm really mindful that the committees need to take responsibility for their budget. They are making those decisions. They are responsible for those decisions and measuring the impact of those decisions. So we feed into the finance team. We feed in, you know, the individual committees feed into the finance committee, and then it's reviewed as a whole picture from there. So it's pulling all the threads together and going, right, this is what this looks like. So we do need to be kind to our officers, because that does take a little bit of time.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that when we're actually looking at it again in October, November, we might say, actually, we want to up it £1,000, but we've got them options. This is just the first stage. Is that correct?
This is the first stage, but I'm very, very mindful as well that next year is going to be very difficult for a number of residents and families, given where we are at present and the current circumstances. So, whilst
I was just giving that as an example. I didn't say I wanted to do it.
No, but it's all for review. But this is kind of what we'd like to achieve. And it's very much, I believe I heard David say it in a previous, another committee meeting for one of the other committees, that actually we need to own this and we need to be very specific about what we're doing ultimately with our precept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to try and allay some fears, Brenda, in terms of and this is a draft forecast, this is what we're submitting to the next stage. It's the first stage, it's a draft forecast, as the title suggests. But actually, when you look at it, we've not moved any of the budgetary figures at all from last year. So we've kept everything. The only thing that we've looked at that's in addition to is the thing that has come from them into Civic or Heritage and Civic events in the future, which is the town events section, and we have looked at that as £9,000. So that's our submission into the process, and we just need to approve that as a committee to go to the next stage. No doubt, as usual, you know, you've all been councillors long enough that I know we'll get it back to us to say, can we make some adjustments? And then we'll deal with that as it comes. But at this moment in stage, we're just approving our draft submission.
Yeah, that's fine.
So are we all in agreement that that's what we'd like to submit going forward?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Super. I don't think we need a formal vote on that because there's only 4 of us here. And obviously it's not a finalised piece, it's work in progress. So we'll move on to 36620, which is the civic events for this year. So we've got VJ Day and Battle of Britain Day and service to receive updates for. You've got the information on the screen in front of you. David, is there anything you'd like to add on this point?
No, that it's apart from the fact that, you know, again, the situation means that we couldn't deliver it as we usually do. But both of those events virtually, which is how we've delivered it, has been very well received. I mean, our VJ commemoration video that we made at Feepowtree had 363 engagements. The little video that we also scheduled for viewing, which was the RAF Family Histories video, that had over 3,500 engagements. The Battle of Britain 80th anniversary church service was live streamed and in recent weeks has been viewed more than 395 times. So I think people have appreciated that at least we've made the effort to try and celebrate it, albeit virtually in most respects. So they were the events that were to take place since our last meeting. What isn't on the slide is that we need to consider the next big civic event, which is Remembrance 2020. And the town clerk, myself and John Waite from the RBL met on Wednesday the 30th of September to discuss a proposal that Thetford Town Council would put forward, which was to host a special invitee remembrance event in King's House Gardens on Sunday the 8th of November, which is designated Remembrance Sunday, which would allow us to have at least a physical event in a controlled environment in King's House Gardens. And John was to take that back to the Royal British Legion to get their opinions and approval. Since that meeting, there was a publication in the About Thetford magazine which actually said that they were still to go ahead with a smaller parade in King Street with a wreath laying at the memorial in the marketplace, where councillors and RBL personnel would attend. Now, we weren't aware of that. We weren't given a heads up on that on the 30th, so it was a bit of a surprise. So at the moment, we're trying to get back in touch with the RBL just to try and find out what actually is going on, and so we can raise our concerns once again that really that can't be appropriate in the current circumstances. But we would still